Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Fire Force Chapter 269. When we last left our heroes, Arthur, now able to breathe in space, thanks to the Star Ring, kind of began his fight anew with Dragon. He also kind of commented on a bit more genuine, conscious awareness of the powers of Adola he's been tapping into for the entire fight. So we'll see how that works. So admittedly, his past Adola usage has largely been, self-focused, whereas now he seems to be aware of the ability to use the thoughts of the people, rather than just himself. Anyway, after that, Ohkubo finally remembers there are other characters in this manga, and we head to Asakusa, where things are, not awful there, but that's just because one particularly powerful doppelganger is on his way, that of Benimaru himself. We then end the chapter seeing Shinra stuck in his pillar, and Haumea free from her pillar, seemingly, and praying to the evangelist, though all of that is in such kind of abstract imagery, it's hard to tell what, if anything, we're really supposed to take literally from that. But anyway, let's jump right on into chapter 269, Names Carved in Stone. And our picture here is of a fairly, featureless person, all in white, on a black background. Kind of reminds me of Truth from FMA. That just says, named Namae Suki. And Namae, I think, is Namae might be the pronunciation, is name, I think. And Suki is moon. Given that Arthur and Dragon are on the moon, and the names carved in stone, maybe that's a connection. We also see a crown on top of the guy's head, which would also fit with Arthur the Night King. I don't know. Anyway, we open back on Earth. As I think this is Vulcan. Got it. I'm heading over right now. Then he says, I think to himself or to you. Arthur's trial? Any way you look at it, he's unbelievable. Well, now that he's finished his trial, he's off fighting the dragon, but where is he? Just a few moments ago, he was fighting in the sky. So it sounds like he's talking to someone. Maybe he's filling you in on what happened, but he already did that a while ago, so I'm not quite sure who he's talking to. But we cut to Lisa, who is very, very happy to see you not so dead. You! And she goes give him a big hug, a literal glomp sound effect, as Vulcan reports into Obi. Vulcan, thanks for helping out with Arthur. And he turns to Victor. Licht, could you fill Vulcan in on the situation? And so Victor has kind of been in an interesting position for the past 15 chapters or so, as he's sort of falling into the kind of nihilism we see best exemplified by Sumire. So we'll see exactly what Victor has to say to Vulcan, and how that might kind of shift the balance of the dynamics. But Victor jumps right in. Right. Vulcan, as I'm sure you know, Arthur has been fighting Dragon. The results of that fight will decide the fate of the world. Okay. And Vulcan is obviously taken aback there. Huh? Have you heard of the old proverb about how every person's life is equal to another, and as such, we're all interdependent on each other? That isn't the case at all. So we see Victor is firmly in that sort of mindset. And again, I'm really curious where Ohkubo is going with that. Anyway, the Special Fire Forces work so hard to maintain that life, but it doesn't matter at all if it doesn't exist in the first place. Because it's a really, not great nihilistic streak Victor is getting at here. And I don't know how we're supposed to take it. If it were really any other character, if it were just Sumire, I'd be like, okay, don't listen to Sumire. She has her motivations. And if it were anyone else, I'd be like, that's a bad sign, because if it were Obi saying this kind of shit, I'd be like, oh, so I guess the main theme here is this sort of, nihilism. The lives of the common people don't matter. But Victor is just in that kind of moral gray area enough that a part of me is like, what's the point here? Are we supposed to reject Victor here? Are we supposed to agree with him? I don't know. Anyway, Vulcan is also confused. Hold on a minute. What are you getting at? And Victor chimes in. In other words, sometimes there are lives that the world doesn't need. In this world, the most important lives are those of the establishment, who lead all of our imaginations. Vulcan, even you are one of them. Though here's something interesting to note. A little caveat. Going into the sort of meta role that the meta thinking that Victor has had. Discussing the world as a story, the people as characters. Especially with Vulcan here as one of the important lives. Is that, like, Vulcan, if we look at this world as an actual world, with its own politics and power structures and governments and corporations, Vulcan is super minor. He's, the science officer of the smallest Fire Force company, a traitor, wanted by the government, and he wouldn't lead all of our imaginations. But as a character in a manga, as one of the protagonists of this manga, he would. So, a lot going on there. Anyway, Victor continues, even amongst the establishment, the despair from that super strong dragon is a special case. Since the sky is pretty quiet, I can't tell if the two of them are even on Earth anymore. If Arthur can't dispel the dragon's despair, the cataclysm will continue. The outcome of their fight will decide the result of the cataclysm. And we see the Earth from a distance, in just, like, sitting there in space. And then we get a 2-page spread of, like, just the void. Which is an interesting way to spend 2 whole pages. And then another 2-page spread of the void, this time with, like, an explosion in the background. Either, maybe that's the moon, maybe that's Earth. Another 2-page spread as we get closer to the explosion. And a final, I think, 2-page spread of just Arthur and Dragon going at it. All, no holds barred at this point. Sword slashing, clawing, you know what I mean. They're just going at it. Arthur's clothes are tattered. His sleeves are gone. His cloak is kind of hanging on by a thread. It's mostly just a hood at this point. Dragon seems not too bad, honestly. But anyway, they're still going at it. We see the sort of, like, trail of flames. Arthur goes for another slash. And Dragon throws Arthur at a star. Like, I've talked before about how the stars, as the cataclysm has continued, have turned into a kind of, like, child's drawing of a star in the distance. This here is that child's drawing of a star turned solid in the same way the lettering was in the past couple of chapters. So is the implication here that they're now so far away from Earth that are the stars closer now that Adola has kind of done its magic? And so they don't have to go that far to hit a star? Or are they light years away doing battle? I don't fucking know. Anyway, Arthur hits the star and Dragon punches him through it. The star shatters. Apparently he's made of stone. As Arthur hits it, maybe this is the names carved in stone, possibly? But Arthur gets up and he starts to, like, dash between the rubble. Makes a slash at Dragon, and Dragon's mask shatters, and half of it is gone, and there's a big gash over his eye. Or a slight gash over his eye. And in return, Dragon makes a slash at Arthur, seemingly drawing blood. And yeah, the two of them hit each other. Arthur seems much worse for wear there. We see 2 panels of, like, the damage both of them took. Arthur's got, like, blood flying from the wound, and Dragon has, like, kind of chips of his armor coming off. But either way, the battle continues again. Dragon's entire helmet is gone now. Actually, don't know when that happened. And his eyes are, like, whited out. On the previous pages, you could still see his, like, irises and pupils. On page 15, I think it's 15, 15, might just be an aesthetic choice, but they're whited out as he comes in for the attack. Arthur also readies his blade, and the two of them hit each other, and they stare each other down, both of them coughing up blood. Dragon's eyes are back to normal, it's probably just an aesthetic thing. And then... Okay. So... Arthur... I think he's cut through to Dragon to around here-ish, around the heart, but Dragon has also clawed Arthur through the chest. And I kind of theorized a while ago that while I think Dragon will definitively lose this fight, Arthur might die too. And that could be where this cliffhanger, this is the end of the chapter, is going. It's life or death. To be continued chapter 270, What Dwells in the Sword. Okay. So, first I'm trying to think if there's anything more to say about Victor. Because I've talked a lot about Victor over the past several months. Kind of given him a break as we focused very much on Arthur and Dragon. But I've never really forgotten about him and his sort of, dive into Sumirai-style nihilism. But also, I'm curious if I would like to kind of started to think about during the read-through. Was I right? Is it a nihilism thing? Or is it a kind of commentary on the concept of a background character? Any other series, I'd be like, it's the nihilism thing. But Fire Force has gotten so meta over the past year that, like, I'm honestly leaning more towards the commentary on the concept of a background character. Because that's just kind of who Ohkubo is now. That's the kind of shit he writes. It's like, okay, well, like I've been saying since that plotline was first brought up in, like, I think it was 256, right after the live-action Sumirai segment. I'm keeping an eye on Victor. We'll see. There's still Joker's comment in, I think, 256, or maybe a little bit after, criticizing Victor for not considering the power of a mob. And so we'll see how that comes into play. But after that, it is back to your previously scheduled Arthur Dragon. No sign of the Asakusa gang. And I'm utterly fascinated by pages 6 through 8, where literally nothing happens. Ohkubo spends was actually 6 pages, or no, 7 through 9. It's 3 2-page spreads zooming in on the battle, which is 6 pages of his, like, I think 20-ish page count, and then another full page spread just showing the battle, and it's a gorgeous panel. The battle is, kind of in very stark detail there, even though there isn't really a background at this point for it to be detailed against. It's just the stars. But, like, I saw some people kind of critical of Ohkubo back with the Sumirai thing, because they'd apparently, I think, forgotten about 216 and thought he just didn't have time to, like, draw the manga for all those live-action pages. But here, I can see that argument more, because the background really does not change for those 3 pages. Honestly, the background might stay the same on page 10. I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to really look at it. No, there are some definitive changes there, but still. But yeah, after that, the fight just sort of comes back to how it's been. Bloodied, intense, just really good, really, really good. This fight is still like top tier anime fights. There are very few fights that sort of measure up to just the sheer intensity of Arthur Dragon. And it ends with one hell of a cliffhanger. Like, that could be the end. What Dwells in the Sword is our next title, so I'm guessing something is going to happen with Excalibur. I'm gonna make a bold claim here. Whether Arthur lives or dies, Dragon dies next chapter. That's my bet. The fight is gearing up to end. It's been going on for like 7 or 8 chapters now. And I think What Dwells in the Sword will end, or maybe even in the middle, have Dragon's death. I don't think Dragon is surviving to next chapter. Whether Arthur dies too is a whole other debate. Or even, like, Arthur doesn't really have the mobility that Dragon has. I'm not sure Arthur can get back to Earth, even if he has the Star Ring. He's largely some kind of, like, following Dragon. So I don't know. A lot of things I don't know about where Ohkubo is going next time, but I do think Dragon is dying next week. But I could be wrong. I've been wrong about things before. So anyway, really fun chapter. Victor, as always, giving us a lot to think about. And then just a continuation of one of the greatest fights I've ever seen. So I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, do whatever makes you happy, And as always, people, your life is your own, okay? Bye!